Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the conclusions. I haven't done a conclusion for a long time, and basically, for those that have never seen this before, the conclusions is basically me going through some of the important situations in the Ukraine war. Is more analysis and opinion based rather than no report based, which is what the situation report is, and the frontline changes report is only focusing on the frontline changes. So this is me just simply talking about the major things that I feel are happening around in the Ukraine war and things that we should look out for. And I think one of the biggest change, so the report mainly will be focusing on the things that was reported on for the 2nd of September, which is the 3rd of September's SIBRAP. And I have already mapped all the information that is available right now for the 3rd of September, which I most likely will not show on this map, this report, because strategically not a lot have changed. So we just go into some of these major things. There's nothing really much happening over the Kherson region. At the Zaporizhzhia region is interesting because there's always this looming feeling, that the Russians are trying to do something, and seemingly nothing major is happening. There's a lot of probings seemingly, but we do not know because a lot of things is not being reported. Like we have the latest report into this report was that which currently happens, which is on the 3rd of September's report. You can see there is fighting reported in all these various places. So the Russians are now constantly pushing around in the Orikhiv sector. And if you look from a wider range of duration, we probably frame of time frame, we see the Russians are attacking Malatomashka, Robotine region, Novodanilivka, Novoandrievka. Sometimes they hit Shebaki, sometimes they hit Mali Shebaki. They are also putting pressure on the village of Stepove, Lubkove, Petikaki region as well. And these probings come here and there, here and there, here and there. And it is super suspicious, why there's no much, frontline changes at all. It could it be just probings? It feels like, something is looming, but no, but we still don't really see much things happening yet. And there's nothing over the Huaypole sector because tentatively this is strategically not necessary, I think, for now. And the biggest news, of course, is this breakthrough or this development where the Russians have taken almost all of Prishestivka. Arguably, they could have probably already taken the entirety of the settlement, given the fact that this area here is considered firm capture. So if this is firm capture and this is part of the gray zone, effectively Prishestivka is under Russian control. So, and this is actually very significant because this comes at very, very suddenly, where the Russian and Ukrainian defense ministry both acknowledged this change, and this came out of nowhere. It's a sudden attack, and the Russians suddenly just takes it, maybe taking a moment of weakness on the Ukrainian side, and they suddenly just took the village, and this builds a very, very good foundation for the Russians to then push northward. And pushing northward would be disastrous for the Ukrainians because if you look at this strategic picture, Ukraine have a very, very, very strong position over at Vuhledar. Vuhledar is extremely hard to capture, but the Vuhledar offensive that the Russians have did around 2 years ago, the main difference is that now the Russians have the line here. Previously, their line was very, very far away. So this makes a huge difference because the Russians can now attack through Vodiane and towards Bohoyevlenka. And then now with this sudden development where the Russians are on the verge of capturing Prishestivka, they could now potentially attack northward towards Novoukrenka. And with the fall of Novoukrenka and Bohoyevlenka, you don't even need them to fall. You just need to fight in the region. The Ukrainian forces over at Vuhledar and the extended greater region of Vuhledar would be under encirclement or operational encirclement, and this is extremely worrisome for the Ukrainians because now the Vuhledar, they don't really have some good roads to get out. So let's change the mapping. There's this one road they can actually travel down, go up this road to Bohoyevlenka, which is why I say if the Russians bring the fight to Bohoyevlenka, this road will not be usable. And then they don't really have any more proper roads leading to Novoukrenka or any other places. It's going to be dirt roads. along the farmways. So you can see this is a road. Everything else is just dirt road, going through tree lines and whatnot. And this will be a extremely difficult place or difficult way to reinforce and resupply your troops over in Vuhledar, where it's going to be one of the most heaviest bombarded place in this upcoming battle. I'm not sure if the map is updated. I don't think so. The buildings looks very intact. So this is the current strategic conundrum the Ukrainians are facing. Vuhledar is extremely isolated, from the rest of the roads. And now, previously they have a direct road to Konstantinivka, so now it's gone. Vodian is now under siege, where the Russians are attacking. Vuhledar is very, very isolated. So I'm not sure how long the Ukrainians are going to hold this position. If the Russians indeed make a push for Novoukrainka and they bring the battle into Vodiane, I think the Ukrainians will start to think about withdrawing from Vuhledar, because but the thing is, losing Vuhledar would also complicates the entire tactical and strategic situation for the Ukrainians. So there's no good options. Everything is bad. We still do not have any withdrawal situation being happening as in the Nevelsky region. I thought they would withdraw, but they didn't. The line also seems to hold at this moment. So it seems like the Russians are pausing. They are pausing the offensive. All the Ukrainians have actually sent reinforcement and able to fight the Russians to prevent them from pushing out. The fighting is pretty much still in the same area in the Heselinivka as well as Ukraine's. This pretty much no change. And the situation in Selodove, there is also no updates. Ukrainians are counter-attacking over Novouhledar. The fighting also stuck over Krytia and Khodivka. So there's no really any more push in the Pokrovsk front. And this is fascinating because everyone thought that the entire Pokrovsk front will collapse. And as I mentioned, a lot of these places are very poor defensive positions. And it looks like the Russians are pausing. Ukrainians definitely, I think they are pushing back a little bit, but I think the Russians are definitely regrouping, because this next push is going to be all the way to Pokrovsk. And I think they need a proper forward operating position to do this. I think Novouhledar will be the perfect candidate for this. And probably which is why the Ukrainians are counter-attacking at Novouhledar. Because if the Russians are able to stabilize Novouhledar, and this will be a perfect base for this assault on Pokrovsk. And the distance between the two settlements is merely 10 kilometers. It's not really that far. So you can see it's only around 10 kilometers. At the shortest point, it's only 8 kilometers. So this is actually super, super near. And Pokrovsk is also have another importance in the sense that it houses the railway station of Pokrovsk station. So if the Russians are able to take Pokrovsk, the railway line leads all the way into the Russian territory. You can see that this railway line goes down into Novouhledar. It goes past Serhievka, Pokrovsk, Ocheretine, and then all the way to Avdiivka. And from Avdiivka, it hits all the way down to Makiivka, to Donetsk, and it's perfect place for the Russians to capture and to want to capture. And so this is one of these prime real estate that the Russians would definitely want. And I think we are just this is a calm before the storm, so to say, although there is fighting being reported all the time across the entire front line. So this is something to note. And other things, like some of these other weird stuff that recently that has happened is this thing. So we have fighting reported as Skibinivka as well as Romanivka. So these are weird because the front line have not been reported to have moved. But previously we also have reports of fighting at Leonidivka. Nelipivka still have reports of fighting tentatively. So there is a good possibility that the Russians, of course, have made this push up so that they are fighting at Leonidivka and Skibinivka. And there is also a possibility that they have made some advance in the northwest of New York, which allows them to attack towards Romanivka. And I believe this is the current situation, which is why we have fighting reported at Nelipivka and yet have fighting in all these different regions. So we will have to continue to wait. We can't confirm, this is just a hypothesis that I have based on the reported fighting. There's also some other very weird stuff, similar stuff like fighting at Stupovsky, Preteshne, Bilohora, Dilievka. These are all the same situation right here. And in the north, you also have at Makove, Maiske, Novomakove. Similar situation where the Ukrainian Defense Ministry is reporting fighting pretty far away from where the front line is understood. We have the same situation over at Sivers as well, where the Russians are allegedly fighting in the region of Zvenivka. And this is actually being updated in the latest report from the Russian Defense Ministry. This is the current latest report, which I will do the frontline changes sit rep later. 3rd of September, this is the latest information from the Russian Defense Ministry. Fighting is at Zvenivka. So this is actually very, very interesting. How is the Russians reaching Zvenivka? And we also have the Russians declaring the capture of Vimka. There must be some kind of frontline change over this region that is totally unreported. They have to be. Because for the Russians, from the front line from here to suddenly say that they have captured Vimka, looks like a very, very huge jump. And there must be some kind of progress in this area where the Russians have already pushed out and captured all these ground. This includes the previous understood capture of Ivano-Darivka based on purely geolocations. The Ukrainians, until this day, do not acknowledge it. They only put it as a gray zone. So we have to continue to monitor. And if the front line going to look like this, then of course this is going to change a lot of things. The entire strategic situation around here looks very different, which means the Russians can now attack Volkan-Volkanyamsky in a pincer, which will then collapse the Volkan-Volkanyamsky defense, and then the next front line is going to be at Sivers. The entire northern area here in Serbianka, Horivka, Bilohorivka, all these are no longer very, very important. So this is the situation around these areas here. And in the north, we also have the similar fighting far away kind of situation where we have fighting being reported at Cherneskina, Proletarsky, as well as Druzilevivka, also of course at Grekivka. These are all and of course the Novosibirsk. These are all very far away from the front line. We are talking about 4, 5, 6 kilometers away from the settlements and from the front line. Somehow the Ukrainian Defense Ministry are reporting all these reports. Sometimes get a bit confusing. Of course, it could be that they are just fighting in the direction of, but still, it's something that we must keep track of. And Pischani situation is interesting. The Russians have basically paused their advance after this weird looking shape. They should have paused it when it's a saber-toothed tiger. Now it looks like some kind of a insect, very disgusting looking insect. So anyway, the Russians are definitely going to try to straighten up this salient, make it more pretty before they go for some kind of offensive, so that they will not get pincered and cut off and encircled. But then we don't have much. There is a lot of reports about fighting at Berestove, Temekivka, towards Lozova. So this is probably part of the operation to try to fill up this gap in order to straighten the front line. I believe this is what is currently happening. So let's wait and see how this develop. Nothing really happening in the Kharkiv region, and over in the Kursk front, I don't think I need to talk much. I have gone through the entire thing in the SIP rep. The Ukrainians have basically foppered down into this Kursk front for double, triple, viper. And so I know it's called quadruple and quintuple or something like that. Fopper, viper is easier. English is too complicated. It shouldn't be so difficult. Anyway, the Ukrainians are still really throwing everything into this basket. They are not giving up, and the Ukrainians are pushing in multiple directions, mainly in this central region here at Malaya Lognia region. They are also pushing towards this northeastern direction. They are still pushing this Karinove direction. They are still trying to push for Komarovka, as well as trying to put some pressure around here. And this is, they are basically, if you look from this angle, it looks like they're trying to push out in all directions. And a lot of this fighting is mainly because they don't really have a clean line. The Russians have a lot of salients here and there. Like they have this region at Kreminoe, and then you have this Malaya Lugnia situation, yeah, and the Martinovka region, the Poroshnoi twin over there. It's like the lines is extremely unclean. Then Karinovo is also another problem. They try to break through, but they can't break through over at this Komarovka region, and the Russians are still putting pressure over at Gordievka. So there is a lot of situation within the Kursk offensive that the Ukrainians are probably not very happy with, and they are putting whatever they could, because if this is the line that they want to negotiate on, this is not the line they can negotiate, because this is a too dirty a line. They need to establish some very, very strong lines in order to use the Kursk region that they have captured as hostage for negotiation, for trading, for land trade. I don't think this current situation is the situation that they need, that they want. This is not good. They will have to capture Karinevo, probably Rylas, Groshkovo. I think these are the few ones that they must capture, and they need to probably go up and capture Lugov. This just alone is just not enough. All these regions around is also useless. These are all too much farmland and small village and small towns. At least they need Karinevo. At least they need this. So the situation for the Ukrainians, actually, while they are somewhat winning, they are taking more ground than the Russians in the Kursk front, they are not getting their strategic objectives. And this is actually very, very worrisome, because every day that passes, they're losing more troops. The amount of Russian shelling in the rear positions is extremely scary, and this is not counting the shelling within their rear positions near the front line, the 4 operating positions, and also the losses in the front line actions. So the Ukrainians are struggling with this, and while we can say that the Ukrainians are taking lines, we have to understand that the Russians are still on the standoff. The Russians, generally speaking, they are still operating in a way that they are just holding the Ukrainians back, and they're largely using artillery, airstrikes, drone strikes on the Ukrainian forces as the main line of defense. The main troops, the clashes between the troops, the ground troops, is very rare. Is very, very rare. And this is a huge concern for the Ukrainians, because they are aiming to clash with the Russians and incur losses on the Russians, but they are not getting it. And in what they get is seemingly like a kill box. They are now trying to maneuver inside a kill box, and that is a very, very big problem for the Ukrainians. So anyway, this is just a conclusion. Don't want to go too long. I think I accidentally went too long because I talked about Kursk. I should have talked about Kursk. It's cursed. Anyway, thank you for watching. Do press the like button, subscribe. The next video is going to be the Frontline Changes report. I'm going to go and sleep first. Yeah, because it's 3 a.m. right now for me. Sleep, I wake up, I'll do the Frontline Changes report. So anyway, thank you for watching. Press the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys. And let me know what you think about this segment. If you want to see more of these conclusions. It's a totally very different kind of video. It's very chill. I just talk whatever nonsense I want to talk. Then yeah, and then you can suck it up, wherever you want to suck. Sounds wrong. Okay, thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next update.